well, I was talking to my dad about like streaming, and then you guys, I was like, yeah, actually my community is pretty chill for the most part. I don't really get much trouble from them. I not really get trouble, but just like concerns and stuff. Like it's not really like big. And he's like, that's great, yeah, keep them grounded. And I'm like, I don't think I can keep them grounded, but like, I'll try. But my dad was like, no, you don't understand, I know parasocial. And I was like, what do you mean? When my father was young, okay, when he was my age, he was like a pretty boy. Like, not gonna lie, like he has a very feminine looking face. Like it's very, like he has a small face. He's like pretty good looking. Maybe I'm biased, but he really, like, a lot of people think he's good looking. He has all his hair, like, and my dad's a musician. Okay, so like he's kind of like in that field where like he has fans. He tutors people in music sometimes. Like one-on-one tutoring, and one of his students 10 years ago was a very old lady. She was like in her 70s, and this old lady like lived really far away from him. He told me that it was like a 2-hour train ride, which is insane. Like he didn't tutor her like every day or anything. It was like once every 2 weeks. So like my dad was like, oh, she really is dedicated in learning like music. So of course, like my dad being like very stupid and naive, he would be like, oh yeah, of course, like she's so passionate. This old lady turned out to be super obsessive over him, and he didn't even know until after she stopped becoming his student. Like the way that he talks to people is sort of like the way I talk to you guys. Like we're pretty open about things. We don't really have much to hide. We're very casual with things. There's no like formality, and there's no like distance that we put between people. It's just like, oh, today, this happened and that happened. Just like casual talk and stuff. That he treats that to like everyone, especially because it's like one-on-one. So he wants to make like some sort of like connection, like a student teacher that you can trust. If you think about your favorite teacher, it's because you're like comfortable with them, right? So it's sort of like that. The day that he told this old lady who was 70 years old that he had like a daughter, which is me. So at the time I was in high school. She never came to his class ever again, and my dad was so confused. And he didn't even know that was the reason until one of his friends, who also was acquainted with this old lady, she was like, this old lady is obsessed with you. Every single time you're brought into topic, she talks about you as if she's going to marry you. And my dad thought at first that, this friend that is telling everything about this old lady to my dad was like joking. But then this friend was like, no. So this old lady, when her friend was sick, she went over to her friend's house, printed a photo of my dad, taped it on her bedside wall, and she said that like, if you pray to my father, I know, I'm not even joking, this is what my dad told me. He's like, she told her friend that if the sick friend prayed to my dad's photo on the wall, she would like recover faster. And then this friend was so concerned that she like talked to the friend that my dad was talking to, and that friend was telling my dad like, it's a good thing that she stopped coming to your class because she was obsessed with you like an unhealthy amount. And my dad had no idea. And then he realized that she only stopped coming to his class because he mentioned me. And she was so overwhelmed at the fact that he was so tainted already, that I was already like 16 at the time or something, that like she just stopped coming completely. And after that, he never saw her ever again. And all of their like mutual acquaintances, like they never heard from her again either. And I was like, oh my god, Dad, you are living the Oshinoko like life. What the fuck? But he was like, I didn't even know this was a thing until like super later on. Oh my god, it was so funny. And I just couldn't believe that was happening to my dad. My dad was like, I have so many stories to tell you that I can't even remember. So unless I remember it because our conversation is related to it. That's the only time I can remember telling you. I was like, oh my god, Dad, you're an idol. And my dad was like, yeah, honestly, I've had my fair share of like parasocial fans. When my dad got married to my stepmom, so many people got upset at him because they just, I don't know, like they just, like he invited them to their wedding and they never came, and then they stopped going to like his class, and it made him really sad. But like a lot of people did not like that he got married. It was insane. I know. And like I was like, oh my, are you really that good looking? Like, I mean, I know, I feel like my dad is good looking, but like, if I had to look like objectively and with no biasism, he's like okay. He's not like the best looking dude in the world, but like, he doesn't have much riz. My dad's not really like a Chad or anything. He's just like a normal Asian guy. He just has a lot of hair, you know? He's not bald. It's not about the looks. I know, my dad has such a good personality. He has a way with talking to people that makes them feel really important. Like, he doesn't do it on purpose, but he doesn't really put like a very like distant barrier between him and like other people. He treats people like, you know, like how he wants to be treated. So like, it's very comfortable to have a conversation with him. Even if you're not very close with him, like, he makes you feel very comfortable. Like, I do understand that part. So I feel like he doesn't understand that he's been like risen up these people, and he's so oblivious to the fact that like he actually has more parasocial fans than me. Like, I'm telling you guys to fuck up every single day on a daily basis. He was like, I can't believe that this 70-year-old thought she had a chance with me. I was like, he was like, okay, maybe if she was like 40 or 50, but 70? It's like my grandma is 70 or 80. My grandma, so his mom, is like 70 or 80. Okay, this is the weird thing though. The other people who really liked my dad and got really upset when he got married to my stepmom, some of those people were married. And my dad was always like, okay, if they're gonna be like weirdos like that, then I'd rather them not be in my life, you know? And I was like, yeah, I agree. But like, I just thought it was so weird that like married people would be low-key kind of parasocial with my dad. Like, they just stopped showing up to his class. And I thought, at first I thought, I was like, oh, maybe they don't like the stepmom. And they're like, they don't even know her. And I was like, oh, yeah, then that's weird. Like, it wasn't even like 1 or 2, it was like 3 or 4. Like, a lot of people did not show up to his class. And like, you know, he was like, yeah, I lost a lot of students because I got married. And yeah, I was a little bit tight on money. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even know that. Holy shit, my dad is like a low-key like a under the radar rizzer or something. Oh my god, like, I don't understand like where these genes went. Like, I told my dad, I was like, hey dad, why do you think you attract so many people? Like, why do you think like so many people are like attracted to like you as a person? And he's just like, I don't know, I guess I make people feel comfortable. I don't really talk to them. I don't really share too much about myself, but I do like talk to them casually. And I'm just like, I guess that's all it takes. Like, sometimes people just want to like have a good conversation and kind of like think too much about it. And he's like, yeah, my dad does this thing that I do, you know, I probably got this from him, but we start getting a little like just a tad little bit egotistical when, you know, when it comes to like topics like this, and be like, well, also I guess I'm not like bad looking, and also like, you know, I'm pretty genuine. Like, you know, a lot of men like are kind of sleazy, and I'm not really like that, so I guess it's kind of rare. I'm like, okay dad, we all know your personality is a 52 out of 10. Okay, I understand. We don't have to like list out all the good things. And he was like, yeah, honestly, like, I feel like if I wanted to, I could probably get like, you know, most women that I would want. I don't know, he didn't really word it like that, but that's kind of like the meaning. He was like, oh yeah, if I really tried, I think like most people would like me back, is what he meant. And I was like, okay dad. And I was like, do you think that your rizzing genes are like, you know, passed on to me? And he's like, what? Well, I don't know, like, what has been your experience with like, do you have any parasocial fans? And I was like, I don't know, I kind of just like tell them to fuck off before anything happens. And he's like, well, that's healthy. But he was kind of like referring to more in real life. I was like, yeah, I mean, like, I've had friends before who have been like kind of like possessive over me. but not too often, and they usually back off if I get really angry. And then I'm like, well, lately I've not really been talking to anyone. And he's like, and he looked at, my dad looked at me and he was like, I guess you didn't get my looks. And I looked at him, I look exactly like you. Like, okay, listen. Between my dad and my mom's beautiful, okay? Like, my dad's handsome, but like, in terms of like who is better looking, my mom is definitely better looking, okay? I'm sorry. Like, she's taller, she has really nice fair skin. Like, my mom has really nice eyes. Like, here she has really slender legs. Like, very like nice. She just looks good. I legit like look like a copy of my dad, okay? My dad's handsome and he looks like pretty feminine too. Okay, you're getting ahead of yourself, like, bro. Like, he's like, well, he didn't say I was ugly. He was just saying, like, oh, if you're not really, like, talking to anyone, it's either you're not attractive enough or you're just not talking to anyone. He was just, poking fun. He was like, well, I guess you didn't get my looks. And I looked at him, I'm like, I'm taller than you now. I want you to remember that. And then, that kind of put him back in his place. Because he's always been kind of self-conscious about his height. Because he's pretty short for a dude. And I think it's really funny.